So, after Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, seems that things are not going tremendously well because turns out that Twitter was being propped up by, BlackRock and other, various ESG promoting investment funds. And without their money and support, so you may remember they held something like 15 to 20% shares each before Elon Musk bought all the shares. And without their support, it turns out that Twitter is actually, like all other Silicon Valley platforms, not profitable and is a black hole for money. But before we begin, because of course it's Armistice Day today, Bo and I had a discussion on Epochs about the Armistice, which honestly, I knew, a bit about because obviously you had to deal with it in school. But honestly, when I was young, this was really boring. I didn't really understand the gravity and magnitude of what was being told. So it was really useful to go over this with Bo, who takes this very seriously, hence the poppies. So if you want to support us, go over, watch that. It's really harrowing, actually. And it's also free for a week, John has informed me.
Some armistices are worth it.
Yes.
Considering.
Yes. Anyway, let's begin not with Twitter, actually, but with Facebook. Because it turns out that Facebook is laying off 11,000 employees, which is about 13% of their 87,000 staff. Because, of course, their shares have been in the toilet since Zuckerberg announced the metaverse. And everyone was like, that looks awful, why would I want that? And will you be joining the metaverse?
Let me think about it. How about no?
Yeah, no, I don't. And terrible idea, terribly executed. Going down the pan. But anyway, moving on to Twitter. Twitter's losing $4 million a day, apparently, or was, before Musk took over. And so Musk had said, he tweeted out, look, regarding Twitter's reduction in force, there's no choice when the company is losing $4 million a day, which makes you wonder, where was it getting all this money before? It's obviously from these investment funds. They were all saying, oh, we're going to sue you. But in fact, actually, Elon Musk gave them a more generous severance package than legally required. So that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, he then yesterday sent a bunch of emails to Twitter staff after he's only owned it for 2 weeks. So he's gone in, he's created his own little doomsday book of Twitter, taken a lay of the land and been like, hang on, this is not financially viable at all. Are you surprised?
Yeah, the only reason it was ever... we don't know the only reason. It was presumably something shady. A lot of whatever money was going on these paid pets
yes.
that you covered once upon a time. These 10 managers for every coder.
Yes.
And is manager even the right word for them?
No.
Because they just go in and eat sushi and drink wine on tap and then go home.
Yeah, but they also spend their time reinforcing leftist orthodoxy. Mm-hmm. So it is important to have them there. But anyway, the New York Times has published an article with some of the leaked email, and it's just remarkable, actually. And what I think this does is speaks to Twitter's importance as something other than a company. That so many people would pay such a large amount of money in order to keep this thing operating and afloat, despite the obvious dead weight that it is. It must be providing some other necessary function. Anyway, so Musk said, sorry, this is my first email to the company, but there is no way to sugarcoat the message. The economic picture ahead is dire. Twitter was too heavily dependent on advertising and vulnerable to pullbacks in brand spending and would need to bolster revenue from its subscriptions. In another note, he wrote that the absolute top priority is finding and suspending any verified bots, trolls, spam. Twitter faces pressure to earn money to fund the buyout. Musk had to take $13 billion in debt, which requires him to pay more than $1 billion interest annually. Which, it sounds like big numbers to me, but I'm not the richest man in the world, so...
I'm sure he can afford it. I'm not sure if he's going to want to afford it.
Yeah.
But, the idea wasn't... I guess the idea wasn't to turn it into a profitable thing, because he likes profits, but he doesn't need them. Ostensibly, it's to turn it into more of a free speech haven. But I got to have my doubts. I got to have my doubts on every side of these things. I don't know who to trust anymore, so we just trust no one by default.
I suspect that he does want it to be a free speech haven, but also he is a businessman, and so he needs a company that is in the black, right? It's surely got to be that. Can't operate a company that just continues losing $4 million a day.
Well, I dread to think how much money YouTube is wasting.
Oh,
because of all the video serving they have to do.
4 billion a year.
Just, yeah, for that. But it's more valuable than money to the
Yes.
to the people who
Yes.
spin the narratives.
Yes, Google has to pay for YouTube's existence. Anyway, so apparently the company earns about 90% of its revenue from advertisers, some of whom have shied away from the platform in recent days because of uncertainties over Mr. Musk's commitment to removing toxic content from Twitter. He responded by threatening a thermonuclear name and shame of these advertisers who choose to halt their spending. Do you think that'll change anything?
I doubt it. Nobody likes being shamed. And I doubt they like being named either.
Good point. Musk has also raced to find new subscription revenue, of course, with the Twitter Blue service, revamping that, making it $8 a month to receive a verification checkmark, which of course went down like a lead balloon with certain verified checkmarks. In one of his emails to staff on Wednesday, Musk said that subscriptions should eventually account for half of the company's revenue. Without significant subscription revenue, there is a good chance of Twitter not surviving the upcoming economic downturn, and therefore Twitter will become bankrupt. The company will be over. We will be released from the reign of terror of the blue checkmarks over society. Good or bad thing?
I love it. It's like a soap opera at this point.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
I mean, it has been since April. Yeah. It's like a tragicomic melodrama and a slow motion car crash all at the same time. You can't watch, but you can't not watch. I guess we've always figured either Elon fixes Twitter or he kills it. Or it just dies in his arms like a dehydrated fish, which looks like might be what's happening. Either way, celebrate good times. No news is bad news, which is ironic for Twitter because on Twitter no conversation is valuable conversation. It's only ever been valuable as a place to promote other places. Like you send a link out to a video you've done or a show you're doing.
Well, interesting. We'll get into the democratizing of the check marks in a second, because it did have a function for those people who are verified check marks and left wingers on Twitter. But just before we go on, it turns out that Twitter, not officially, but whoever's organizing the check mark system in Twitter was illicitly selling, or it seems that the accusations they were illicitly selling verified badges on Twitter for 15 grand to get verified if you weren't someone actually important.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting way of kind of buying your way into the aristocracy that used to happen.
Yeah, it's not a verification badge, it's a validation badge.
Yes.
That's all it ever was. And I mean validation in that patronizing way that smug Sats uses. It's a pat on the head. It's you're a good boy, have a biscuit.
You're a part of the club.
In the event that you roll over and play dead on command. I think I'd rather pay $8 a month than go through that degrading shambles even for free.
Yeah, exactly.
How did Tankula get a check mark? Can anyone explain that to me? How does he still have it after all the epic trolling he's done? What does a brother have to do to lose a check mark these days?
Well, he did skirt quite close to losing it, I think.
Yeah, because of the Donald Trump thing.
Yes, which, I mean, hilarious, but you know. And I actually asked him. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep the check mark, so I'm gonna pay for it." So, well, there we go. Anyway, Elon was like, yes, investigations needed. So moving on, democratizing the check marks actually isn't as straightforward as you'd think, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has recently discovered, because it turns out that people have been showing up in her mentions that she wasn't quite prepared for, and this is a form of harassment. She says, wait, so if people can pay... Excuse me. I've been ill, okay? She says, wait, so if people can pay $8 to get verified, does that mean strangers can just pay to get into their mentions tab? As in, anyone can mention me and I have to see it. Because that will make following public conversations with journalists, outlets and others almost impossible to track. Yeah, and others, but not you.
They still have the mute button, my darling.
But these peasants are clogging up my mentions. Like, I'm trying to talk to journalists, outlets and others, and there are a bunch of voters in my mentions. This is disgusting. They're peasants in my castle. What's going on? Why are all these peasants here? Well, you see, it's a revolution now. You know, this is democracy.
It's not supposed to be a public square. It's mass square.
It's literally for the nobility. And AOC's furious about this. And she replies to her own tweet saying, if so, it definitely seems like a tool that's ripe for targeted harassment, especially of women and others on the platform.
Oh, that takes me back.
Okay, it's been a number of years, hasn't it? But at least it's having the desired effect, eh? So, this is the upside of the democratization of the blue check, which is AOC has to hear from people she doesn't like. The downside, though, is that it hasn't actually been rolled out very competently. Probably because Elon Musk was like, this is going to be ready by the end of the week or you're fired. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the sort of Donald Trump energy of that. But, like, there does need to be a bit more planning that goes into revolutionary changes. Otherwise, you end up in, well, revolutionary France. As you can see here, if you can click on that image, John, just to get that up, I'm not sure that this is really George Bush and Tony Blair having an actual interaction on Twitter, saying, I miss killing Iraqis, and Tony Blair's like, yeah, same, to be honest. I mean, it might be, actually.
Spicy.
I can't confirm that it's not, but you can see the problem is that the actual verification process was just pay your money and then it goes through, rather than actually verifying that you are dealing with George W. Bush and Tony Blair. You get some other impersonations, such as for pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly. As you can see there, someone registered and verified because they paid for it. We're excited to announce that insulin is free now. And so Eli Lilly, actually on their correct account, had to say, we apologise for those who have been served a misleading message from a fake Lilly account. Our official account is at LilyPad, thus defeating the purpose of verification entirely.
Yeah.
They actually have to tweet out now, no, this isn't us. So if you can go to the next one, you can see, okay, so the problem there is, of course, that the people who are purchasing verification through the $8 a month weren't being verified.
So what's the point? In anything. Ever.
Exactly. Anyway, this also upset a bunch of leftists. You see the next one. So you're choosing to make a profit off life-saving insulin. Well, it costs money to make, unfortunately. Anyway, so Elon Musk had to tweet about this, and I think that his Twitter interventions are coming across a lot like Donald Trump's presidential Twitter interventions. They aren't actually as good an idea as they sound on paper, and are slightly destabilizing, actually. He tweeted, going forward, accounts engaged in parody must include parody in their name, not just in their bio. To be more precise, accounts doing parody impersonations, basically tricking people is not okay. Now, I can see why he's saying this, but the problem is that you were rushing to try and get the money from people paying for verification without doing the necessary work to ensure that verification has a point. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. He's out of line, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, and I say this as a supporter. And so it seems that Twitter Blue has been stopped, basically. On Friday morning, as GB News reports, the option to sign up for Twitter Blue, which gave users a blue checkmark, has been suspended. At the same time, new grey official badges for large organisations began reappearing on some Twitter profiles. So this was something they were forced to bring in, is little grey official badges. So it's the new verified checkmark. Sorry about this. I should be at home.
It's November and he's got kids.
Yeah, and they've got diseases. So they got these new grey official badges, which is like the new verified checkmark that's bestowed by Twitter after everyone else has the verified checkmark. So
it's a double checkmark.
Yes. So what was the point in this? Like that was ridiculous. And also, it looked awful, as Musk himself called it, an aesthetic nightmare. Yeah, it looked gross, actually. So this is concerning. And in fact, the fish. If you get to the next one, you can see this how quickly this has been done. If you can scroll up, you can see the timeline on this. On November the 8th, Twitter's introduced the official label, which again, what's the point of the verified checkmark? You may as well have just abolished it. November the 9th, Elon Musk just killed the new Lords and Peasants double checkmark system. It's gone. November the 11th, it's back. Because it turns out that this is not being run very competently. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was never being run very competent. Well, maybe back in the day, when, I don't know, before it got taken over by... Was it always... I don't know. Like I said, the only thing it's ever been good for is self promotion. So that's what they should do. They should ban any tweet that contains anything but links to somewhere else. Because the minute you start expressing your thoughts and opinions on Twitter, that's when your faith in humanity takes just this spinning nosedive and crashes into hell, or you cause someone else's faith in humanity to shrivel up in the fetal position and cry its brain out of its nose. And
I've said this before, but Twitter is proof that the ability to read minds would be worthless. Like, just why would I need to? Anyway, so there have been a number of resignations following all of this. Twitter's legal team just posted this message to their Slack. Everyone should know that our CISO, Chief Privacy Officer, and Chief Compliance Officer all resigned last night. News will be buried in the return to office drama. I believe that is intentional. Oh yeah, Elon's making sure that everyone works from the Twitter offices like a tyrant. No, it's good. Obviously, they should work from the offices. And interestingly, Yoel Roth, who is the head of trust and safety, is also leaving. So this is remarkable. This is at least 5-6 resignations of all of the top teams that didn't get fired in the last couple of days. Now, it's no great loss that Yoel Roth is going, because, I mean, if he's in any way representative of the people who are resigning, they're all basically caricature leftists. I mean, if you just look at some of his past tweets, especially when Donald Trump came in. You go to the next one, John. You can just see that he's just embarrassing. Like, I'm the man that little man has been my celebrity crush for as long as I've known I'm gay. In case anyone has any doubt, 23andMe has confirmed that I'm extremely Jewish. Yes, the person in the pink hat is clearly a bigger threat to your brand of feminism than actual Nazis in the White House.
where's the lie?
The patriarchy is blind white dudes incorrectly mansplaining to their girlfriends what breed my dog is. You're right, the person you disagree with President Obama has nothing to do with his party. It's to do with the fact that he's black. This guy is the trust and safety officer, head of, at Twitter was. So, there is something to be said for Elon clearing these people out, actually. Anyway, this has, of course, aroused the attention of the Nazis who are actually in power. Am I being sarcastic when I say that?
If you can't tell, then I can't.
I've yet to come to a decision on whether that was a sarcastic comment. But no, Joe Biden has been like, oh, well, things are going on at Twitter, and they're not as we want, because, of course, Twitter and Facebook and others were directly collaborating with the Biden regime to censor people, as we recently found out. And so when asked, he was, do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S., with the tools you have, investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments to include the Saudis? Biden replies, Musk's cooperation and or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at.
Joe Biden, of all people.
There was a Saudi prince who was like a 10% stock owner of Twitter.
Yeah.
Biden's got nothing to say. Musk becomes a 100% owner of Twitter, and now it's his interactions with foreign countries that are the concern.
I wonder if they can ban Elon from Twitter. Even while he owns the company, he's the president. He's a private president. He can do what he likes.
Possibly, who knows? But anyway, he says whether or not he's doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting it's worth being looked at. That's all I'll say. It's very interesting. Anyway, I noticed that Trump didn't do that. Yeah. Like, Biden is prepared to use the executive power that Trump wasn't. Anyway, so there was a recent call, not yesterday, the day before, there was, one of these sort of like Twitter spaces where Elon and Yoel Roth and a bunch of others were speaking about the future of Twitter. Now, I'm just going to give you a few quotes from this just because it was an hour long. But Elon points out that he's not neutral, but it's important that the platform be neutral when it comes to moderation. He intends to change the recommended ad and tweet systems to integrate them and improve relevance, which is, it's all very business savvy maneuvers here, to be honest. But notice the fact that they didn't have this thought out and done before just goes to show you how little they relied on actually paying for their own platform. Like, why weren't they already? Well, yeah, we're gonna have like smart ads that are served directly beneath references to something that is already being talked about in order to engage user, to drive traffic to these things, to engage the amount of sales the advertisers get so we can charge more revenue, blah, blah. They hadn't thought of any of this. There's just like, oh no, well, they just randomly pop up, don't they? Isn't that interesting? But when talking about the process of verification, he said that at the moment it's a phone and a credit card and $8 a month. So it could be anyone's phone. It could be anyone's credit card. And anywhere's $8. We will actively suspend accounts engaged in deception or trickery. It will be less special to have a check mark, but I think that's a good thing. We believe in one person, one vote, don't we? I think we do. I don't like the lords and peasants situation. So it seems that he is genuinely looking at this as a kind of French Revolution levelling. The ancient regime need to be, guillotined.
I hope it works out
Twitter.
better than the French Revolution did.
Well,
You're going to find yourselves with the Twitter equivalent of a Napoleon any day now.
Interestingly, yes. It may well be that he is the Twitter equivalent of Napoleon.
There you go.
So anyway, he also said we are going to try and be more forgiving. If someone missteps, then we should give them the temporary suspension and allow them back on the platform, which would be nice. Twitter has also applied to become a payment processor because you may be aware that he's got his X app that he teased. That he wants basically to do everything, which, I mean, not a terrible idea, but I'm so skeptical about all of this these days. But basically, they filed the paperwork so they can essentially mimic WeChat from China's social media app, so they can do payments and stuff like that, which, fine. So all of this sort of chaos and confusion has led to at least one thing, which is apparently an all-time high in the users of Twitter.
Really?
He says.
Even after all the rats flew the nest.
Yes.
Well, I guess they didn't. They just said they would.
Well, a few of them
stomped
did.
around in a tantrum.
A few of them did, and they'll be back. But apparently, yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the actual numbers, and this is just Elon's word for it. So, maybe take it for a grain of salt. But he says the usage of Twitter continues to rise. One thing for sure, it's not boring. It's like, that's true. There's at least, as you said at the beginning, an exciting melodrama to spectate. But anyway, so the question then, I think, is how Elon should moderate Twitter. And I actually wrote an article about this, so if you want to go to lotuseast.com, you can go read my article on how he should moderate. I actually have quite a lot of experience being on the sharp edge of internet moderation, so I actually know a thing or two. But the first thing is stop governing by fiat, stop tweeting like the updates to the company. Like, I know it sounds tempting, but just don't do it. It's just not good for the way that all of the various interests are intersecting in Twitter. But also the next thing is just simply rule that verified accounts can't be parody accounts. So if you're going to have a verified account, you have to present as yourself. Now, I don't even know how far he wants to take it, but if you're being given their credit card details, automatically set their Twitter username, display name, to the name on the credit card. So it's like, oh, it's Carol Jones, then that's your Twitter display name with the verified checkmark. Just have it so that can't be changed and you don't get to make that up for yourself, because that would solve all of those problems. But you have to make sure they are verified as the people they claim to be.
It makes sense. I mean, some people have been demanding that everyone should use their own name on their Twitter handle so that there can be no anonymity, which is a bit much. But if you're going to be verified,
if you're going to pay for it,
exactly,
then
that should apply.
And
but the rest of us get to troll with an egg and a cat meme.
Exactly, or a pharaoh mask. But that's exactly the point, isn't it? If you want to be someone who shows they've got skin in the game, and I'm going to pay the $8, okay, but you've got to be yourself, because otherwise what's the point of verifying? And that gets rid of the problem of parody accounts. If someone's claiming to be something and they don't have the verified checkmark, it's not them, hence the point of the verified checkmark. And another point I made in this is if Musk wishes Twitter to be like a functional town square, there's a remarkably long article, I had a lot of thoughts on it. He needs some sort of strike system like YouTube's 3-strike policy, which actually isn't a bad system.
It's
strikes
an abusable system, but if you're not abusing it, then it works.
Yeah, exactly. The strikes last for 3 months or something before they're lifted, and you get a week off. So a week suspension. And that's pretty good. And of course, I think that he should return the banned accounts. He should implement this system and say, right, I'm returning the banned accounts, I'll have, this is a sort of fresh slate. We'll assume that this is whatever, warning 1 or whatever, put on their account. I don't know. But it would be more fair, I think, and a way to actually improve Twitter.
Would you actually come back?
Oh, yeah.
If only just to give them two fingers and say, okay, now I'm leaving.
No, I certainly would come back. I didn't leave Twitter by choice. I was as addicted to it as everyone else. But I would certainly moderate myself now. I certainly wouldn't be quite as engaged as I was previously. Mm-hmm. Any further thoughts on Twitter?
I mean, if you're a regular user, just
don't.
Never read your notifications, folks. Don't, under any circumstances, respond to them, but it's best that you don't even read them. It's not worth it. And don't hate follow anyone. And don't follow anyone who hate follows anyone, because that's just going to fill your timeline with bile that makes your blood boil. There are ways to enjoy Twitter, but it's very difficult. Well, you never really enjoy it, but you can use it to browse, news and what have you. It's useful for this kind of show. And there are countless other sites where you can do that. See, I hope it dies. Honestly, I think it's for the best. In a way, I will miss it. In a way, in the same way a crackhead misses crack, in the event that he doesn't get his government issued pipe that week.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, in the last few weeks of its existence, if all the advertisers pull out, it'll be the best time you ever have on Twitter, because there won't be all those effing adverts. The promoted posts.
Yeah.
I swear every other post is an advert for some hokey nonsense that I will never need. And it's the same ones over and over. Same with the regular posts. Is anyone else getting that issue where it just repeats the same few posts over and over? I don't know if it's just me. Sort that out, Elon. Bring it back to the good old days where it updated the feed in real time. Like when someone posts something, it actually appears at the top of the feed. That was a novel idea, wasn't it?
He actually tweeted out a way to fix that. There's like some star icon in the top right hand corner. You click that and it goes back to just chronological.
Okay, well, I wish you would have told me that.
Yeah, could have been more
anyway,
obvious.
I've done all my old man yelling at cloud bit.
Fair enough. Twitter, if it goes, it goes, and the world will be best for it.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the premium book clubs we do, this one on Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.